Okay, hello. Gonna make sure everything's working here. But yeah, welcome to the stream. I got everything working here, hopefully. Let me check. Working here. Yep. Okay, so the audio's working. That's good. Yeah, I'm a minute late. Okay, I was getting stuff set up. So, yeah, so today's stream, I'm going to be talking about the EAS rack and stuff. I've had a lot of questions over my Discord about certain things, and I've actually had probably about 7 people contact me through Discord asking different questions, how they can get into the hobby, and so I thought I would do a live stream talking about, you know, certain things, certain questions that I think were kind of interesting and other people would like to know about. So I got a few of them here. So one of the main questions I always get was, you know, how am I licensed to transmit and all that stuff? Because I say that I transmit, but, you know, there's a thin line in between transmitting and, you know, being licensed to transmit. And, you know, what I'm doing is essentially I'm taking EAS alerts that I receive and I am forwarding them onto the repeater system in my local area. Now, the repeater system is in the amateur radio spectrum. So essentially, you know, we don't have, you know, any EAS receiving equipment on that band that is, you know, worked, you know, that the public uses. So you can put EAS equipment on there because it essentially is just FSK tones, frequency shift keying, and that's about it. I mean, they're just FSK tones, and it really if you're broadcasting over, say, NOAA, FM, AM, yeah, that's not allowed unless if you're a broadcaster who actually has a license to be broadcasting on those frequencies. And so that's something I just wanted to clarify right off the bat before I start talking more about the stream. So, and I use my amateur call sign inside the encoders to actually stay legal. So, so during this live stream, I'm hoping this live stream will go on for probably about an hour or so. And just anybody who has any questions, live questions, I'm going to answer questions that I've gotten through Discord. But if anybody has any questions that they want to drop just in the live stream chat, I will go ahead and answer those also. So, essentially, some people ask why I have 3 encoders. Or 3 NDEX, as people like to say. I don't really like calling it NDEX because NDEX is a brand name of encoders by Sage. So, you know, if we like to call my trilithic EasyCast an NDEX, it's not. NDEX is short for encoder decoder, but it's actually a trademark of Sage, Sage alerting systems. So, just to clarify. So the top one is my main you know, EAS encoder and decoder. It's the EasyCast, the trilithic EasyCast. Trilithic is not in business anymore, but they were bought out by a different company whose name I don't know off the top of my head. And so the reason why I have 3 is the top one is the main one that receives alerts from, like, stuff like NOAA, FM, and AM radio stations. Now, my station receives 2 different NOAA channels and 2 different FM radio station channels. And though that's where I get my, you know, EAS alerts from, locally here for Oregon. Now, with those, I'm going off the state EAS plan. You can find your the EAS plan for the broadcasters for your state online or email the like there should be like a broadcast committee in your area. You can get the schedule for monthly tests and all that stuff from them, which I did. I did get my monthly test schedule from them not too long ago. And yeah, so that's receiving, and it also relays alerts to the repeater system. There's a radio hooked in to the top shelf right here. It's a Motorola commercial transmitter, and that radio is used in a lot of public service applications. Here, I'll actually grab one. One sec. Okay, so yeah, so these are the Motorola radios that I have. I have one of those up there. I use a lot of these. If you don't know, these are called Motorola Max Tracks, and they are they come in VHF and UHF forms, but essentially I have one of these transmitting at about 10 watts right there to the repeater system on UHF. And by the way, I also have a filtering circuit on there that I got, and it filters it just for the frequency that it's supposed to work on, the frequency spectrum, which is UHF. So there's no chance of it possibly ever shooting spurs down to the NOAA or FM or any of those spectrums. And that's really, really important, because I've had two of the people who contacted me on Discord were like, hey, how can I set it up for my repeater system? And really, you have to have high quality equipment, or because if you shoot spurs down into those bands, you know, that causes lots of problems, and with legality and, you know, such. But so if you want to hook up a NOAA transmitter or NOAA receiver, per se, to your repeater system, I highly recommend going with a Recom weather radio. And the reason why is because Recom weather radios have an alert out and they have a speaker out. Now, what you can do with that is you can hook up the alert out to the PTT of your repeater, which is high quality equipment, hopefully. And you can hook up the speaker input to one of the inputs of the ports of audio on your repeater controller. So I will release a video in the near future on how to do that once I get a Recom, and I'll show you how to do it with an RCOM repeater controller. And yeah, hopefully if you're interested in doing that for your repeater system, you can do it that way. Plus, since it's a weather radio, it actually mutes the tones, the FSK tones, so there's no risk really involved. It's just the audio from NOAA, the actual audio message, none of the data packet stuff. They will do the alert tone, though. So with that, to answer the question, to go back to the question about why I have three, the other two are currently in use with a program called NERP, which is the National Encoder Relay Program. And it's about 10 people. And essentially what we do is we have receivers hooked up to our encoder decoder, and we'll receive actual alerts. And then what we'll do is we'll relay them out through a audio live stream online, which, you know, it's completely legal to put those tones online. It's just like watching them on YouTube. And so what I can do with that is give the alerts for Oregon out to, say, someone in New York, and they can receive them live as they come in. So like I'm receiving alert tones live from New York, and from what's the other county? We got North and South Carolina. Yeah, places like that. It's really cool. So this center one right here, it might go off during the live stream, I don't know, but there has been some severe weather out in that area. A lot of thunderstorm and tornado warnings going on over in North and South Carolina and stuff. So this one is just hooked into two sound cards on the main computer down there. that there's the headphone outputs of those sound cards go into the monitor inputs of 1 and 2 of that center end deck. And then the bottom end deck is not currently hooked up. I'm actually going to be giving that to someone to use. And that will be in the near future. So that one will probably be going away. It does run an older version of end deck firmware, which is 5.125, I think. And then the top one does 6.2. Oh, there's an alert that just came in actually on the top end deck. I don't have the audio turned on for the end deck, but it did just go off. So I can actually check and find out what alert that was real quick. Also, if you join my Discord, should be a link in the description. This video or another video. You can actually find the channel that I post all the alerts I get in and stuff like that. So, and that actual alert that just came through to my end deck was for a practice/demo warning from one of our stations. Yep, practice/demo. So yeah, that's just a demo warning, but there could be a thunderstorm. Thunderstorm warnings are kind of common for that area. So yeah, and like I said, bottom one isn't being used mostly because it's an older version, but I'm gonna be giving that away. So. And then, as for the computer down here, that computer runs mostly 2 different systems. That's running the audio live stream, and it's running the Discord webhook. So how the Discord webhook system works, I released a video on it. It goes from the serial output of one of the encoder decoders into the computer's serial port, and you have to set up the decoder to give out newsfeed output is what it's called, and that's like a really like standardized like just text format serial, and essentially the script looks for a start and end tag in the serial, and it looks for that, and then it posts it to a webhook on Discord. So, and then as for the live stream, there's a speaker. The speaker output of one of the sound cards on the computer goes into the EasyCast. Then it goes back out of the EasyCast into the microphone of the same sound card. And what that allows me to do is play music on the stream while it's not doing anything. And then at any time, it can switch from the music to its internal stuff and to its internal audio and play EAS audio out over the stream into the microphone input of the sound card. So, someone asked a question. I have a question about the XLR cable, and you have a TFT EAS 911. And so the XLR cable would go into the audio output of the TFT EAS 911. And it would go into the microphone input of your sound card. And so yeah, so that's mainly how that works. And then I'm gonna have the center end deck hooked up to a logger pretty soon, and that will be all ready. And then as for the rack, I get a lot of questions about the rack, like where did I get it, how much did it cost, all that stuff. I actually got it from a company named Free Geek out in my area, and they get tech equipment and listen to audio. No audio to listen to. Is my audio not working? I don't know if my audio is listening to, if my audio is working or not. I'll have to see. No, it's working. Okay. So, yeah, so essentially, the serial protocol is just a really defaulted, just newsfeed output. And you can set the EasyCast. The EasyCast actually has on its COM port number 2, they have, a whole bunch of different options. You can do, like, external character generator and all that stuff. But it just runs newsfeed. So, yeah. And then I also, I'm trying to get it. It's been having some bugs lately, but I have a serial cable, 10-foot serial cable that I built that goes in between the NDEC and my computer. And that allows me to do a remote software, which I could probably pull up here. I don't know if it's going to work because it's been kind of buggy lately. Yeah, my serial card's been acting up. But, yeah, I'll leave it open in the background and maybe it will decide to run. But, essentially, that just, mirrors the front panel. Yeah, it's not wanting to work. It just mirrors the front panel of the NDEC, this portion right here. And it allows you to control it remotely, which, if you hook it up to, like, a, you know, serial to Ethernet converter, allows you to control it remotely. Also the EasyCast can be controlled remotely. It has Ethernet built in, the modem card, and that is the serial card rebooting. That's that desktop noise. So yeah, and then as for the radios I use, I get that question a lot too. What receivers do you use for all your EAS stuff? I might release a video on it or an article or something, but what I essentially did is I used the internal radios on... Ah, crap. This thing keeps unplugging and plugging back in, so I'm just gonna unplug it. So, essentially, the... I gotta get back to what I was thinking of. Gosh, totally lost my train of thought. But, yeah, essentially... Man, I totally forgot. Oh, yeah, radios. So, EasyCast, I built a mod that goes in between the built-in receivers and, allows you to port audio out from each of those internal receivers into, say, other EAS equipment. And essentially what that allows you to do is, say I wanted to hook up channel 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the EasyCast receivers to the NDEX 1, 2, 3, 4 monitor inputs. That allows you to do it separately. Otherwise, you would only be able to select one channel to listen to at a time through one of the audio outputs on the back of the EasyCast. This allows you to do it all individually. It's a little mod I did. So I will release some photos or a video on how to do it. It's as simple as soldering some wires to the receiver cards and then a ground wire, and yeah, so. And then what else do I got? Oh yeah, I do have a realistic scanner up here. It's kind of hard to see with the lighting, but I could run my remote webcam. Alright, so up here actually, that's that scanner. It's just a realistic scanner, FM, and yeah, it runs, it's not on right now, it's actually offline, and then there's my NOAA weather radio and the beacon hooked up to the EasyCast, and you can see some of the front panels. You can see the active alert that's happening, so with the incoming alert. So yep, that's all cool, and all 4 channels are running on the receiver, so it's pretty awesome. So and then as for the rack, see, I got the rack from Free Geek. I work with a group for the amateur radio repeaters. That's a non-profit for our state, and I was able to get this for free through them, so that was really nice of them to supply that. I'm actually going to be upgrading, hopefully in the near future. I got some news about that a day or two ago, that I might be getting a full-size rack, so it might go up to my ceiling or so. I think it's going to be about 42U, somewhere around there. But I'm pretty thrilled if I could get that. This one does have the door on it, but I don't close the door too often because just access to get into it, I mean, it's just easier. I could take the door off, but honestly, I just haven't. And then as for doing maintenance, many people say, oh yeah, it's super hard to do maintenance with stuff that's in racks and stuff. I disagree entirely, because there is these side panels that you just pull two latches up on, and the entire side of the server rack can come off. And this is on both sides to let you get into the equipment. And I can pull a pin here, and the entire door can actually just come off. And so you can get completely into the side of the rack right there. So that makes maintenance really, really easy. And I will put the thing back on. It's a bit of a pain to get back on if you haven't done it before. Took me a few tries, but you just have to line up the pins essentially. And I think I got it. So, and then as for right here, there's these two little latches that just go into the inside lip of the side door, and they lock down. And then when this comes forward, it locks onto that piece here, so it makes sure that essentially the rack can't come apart once it's been locked. So you don't have to worry about the side doors being an alternate access. And then there's a little button here. It's kind of hard to see from the camera standpoint, but essentially that button is just to sense if the door is open or not, or open or closed. And that's for some home automation stuff I've been working on, and that's actually going to be the next live stream. What a great way to transfer into that. I plan for these live streams to be weekly, every Sunday at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 3 o'clock p.m. Or for you fancy people out there, 1500 hours. And that's I'm just gonna talk about projects and stuff that is going on. I'm pretty thrilled to start doing this, because it just kind of allows me to speak my mind about projects and such. So next week we're going to be talking about Home Assistant and home automation. I was going to actually make this my first live stream, but I decided not to because my internet has actually been acting up. I'm lucky to be doing this live stream right now, and the only reason why I'm able to is because I'm running off Ethernet. But like the 2.4G side of my router died, and so waiting for a new Wi-Fi router to come. And I might actually do a video because I got a kind of interesting Wi-Fi router coming. So, and then as for the No Weather Radio, many people think I use this as a receiver for the actual EAS stuff. It's just standalone. It's kind of hard to see because it's white in the stream, but no, it's just standalone. It's just sits there for me to receive the local NOAA station. And then there's a little box up here, a little Raspberry Pi, and that's the Home Assistant server, which I will be talking about in the next live stream. And then as for the software, you can see that there's a screen up there. It's a little hard to see with the glare. Should probably close the blinds, but essentially that I might actually close the blinds. It might make sense. You can probably see it better. And so that is the computer down there. That's its screen. When I say server, I'm usually referring to that computer down there. It's just running Windows 10, but it acts as a server for me to run all the EAS equipment off of. And so I actually have it remote viewed into the software here, so I can do this. Let me go to the right thing. So this is actually the software right here, and this is what it looks like. I got my clock here. I got the Python script running right here for the EAS post thing to Discord, and then I got my mixer running here. This is the music from the desktop. And then this is the audio out to the EasyCast. Then this is the audio return from the EasyCast, and then that audio gets transmitted out to the live stream right here. And this is Butt. This is the live streaming software we use. And then as for other stuff, there is some. If I can get the window to show up correctly, there is some stations here. I'm not going to show the links entirely, but they're running right here, and they are the EAS streams for New York and for I forget exactly where all of his station stuff is, but that's my friend Nick's stream, and he covers places like North and South Carolina. Is over in that area. So yeah, so that's those are coming in live from their streams. They have a system just like this on their side, and yeah, it's essentially how that works. And you'll also notice on my desktop there's this right here, this clock and this clock. They're running on separate computers, but they're in complete sync with each other. I have a NPT time server. Yeah, that's how you say it. I have a GPS time server running here at the house to run all the equipment together to make sure they're all in time, which is really important for logs. Really, you just have to make sure that all stays up to time. So, yep, this is the software. I'm gonna pull back up the mixer here. Oops, that's the voice meter software. So, yep. So that's the stream stuff there, and then we'll go back to my camera here. So yeah, so that's how I stream all the EAS from the system here. So in the near future, I'll be changing this up a bit, but essentially I wanted to make this video also to just kind of show I got my EasyCast installed, and that's actually the main thing I use now. The original video that I did talking about the rack, I talked just about the index because I didn't have the EasyCast at the time. And then what else do I got to talk about here? The systems run off the Ethernet connection I have here for reliability. They do have a wireless backup. There's a wireless card in the PC down there. It's set up to just automatically switch over to the Wi-Fi if the Ethernet fails. And really, I have never had any problems with the stuff just failing because of network. You know, that changes throughout the area that you're in. So yeah, so if you're interested in getting into this hobby, that's a big question I get. What equipment should I buy? Or what should I do? Well, first of all, you should gain a basic understanding of what this equipment does, how to hook it up. before you even buy any encoders or anything, because let me say there's a thin line in the hobby, and from what I've learned this from lots of people, and they've all told me the exact same thing. There's one side where I'm receiving alert broadcasts, and maybe I'll relay them onto an online stream, okay? And then there's a side where I'm transmitting alert broadcasts. I need to make sure I'm licensed and my equipment is working properly, da-da-da-da-da. I recommend you go over to the side of receiving EAS alerts and learn about, you know, just it from there. The only time you should ever set up a transmitting station is if you maybe own a repeater system or as such. With that being said, if you are looking at transmitting, I'm gonna do a video on how to hook up a no-weather radio to a transmitter to go to your local repeater system. And also make sure you get permission from your repeater system owner. That's really important. I'm actually a tech for the repeater system, and I'm on the technical team, so I actually help manage and maintain the system. So that's, you know, that's how I was able to do it. If you want to do it, you better get permission. And, you know, a lot of repeater owners will be a little bit like, I don't know, because like of the legality. So also with that, make sure you get the high quality, if you're going to do it, get high quality equipment to be transmitting on. It's really important that you use filtering. But really, if you want to be a hobbyist in the hobby, get a weather radio first. Okay, if you find you're interested in it, move on to like buying an NDEC or something. And then maybe hook up your police scanner or something on the NOAA frequency and hook it into one of the monitor ports and just listen. And essentially, you'll be able to log alerts. It's really wonderful for logging alerts and stuff. It's just really cool. But once you go past that boundary of transmitting, it becomes, you know, like you really need to know what you're doing. You need to be licensed, and I can't stress that enough. There has been incidents actually in the past of people hooking up transmitters or actually using cheap Baofeng radios to transmit over NOAA frequencies, and there's been cases of just people talking over it, and there's been cases of people putting out tones, and so I just need to make that really clear. And it's really important that, and it's something we have to talk about in the hobby a lot to people who are interested in coming in and learning more. So yeah, expect a video in the near future about a little bit more about that. I just wanted to make that clear through the live stream here. And then a lot of people also ask about the printers in the NDECs, where you can get paper for them. The paper size is not really a standard size, but I'll post a link. There's a pack on Amazon for 5 little rolls you can get and to put into your NDEC, and they come in little rolls like this. I actually have a case of them. They're little thermal printer rolls. Those printers don't use ink. They use what the receipt printers do actually at the point of sale devices for like your local supermarket. They use heat and actually print onto it that way. They don't use ink. The paper is reactive to heat. And so it's relatively cheap to buy, but since it's usually marketed towards people who are in the you know, sale industry, you know, like stores and markets, all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about, like cash registers. You usually have to buy it in bulk. So if you want to be getting paper to put in those printers, just know that you might have to spend like $60 to get a big box of them. But there is a like for $10, there's a 5-pack roll of those little rolls, and that's what I got. I'll leave a link once the live stream's ended in the description of the recording of this live stream, so that you can actually check it out if you're interested. And then, as for I kept getting a question about the microphone also for those index. Also, I don't have the chat up anymore. I just realized that. I get a lot of questions about the microphones. The microphones, there's some something in the index manual that shows like the amount of like the spec of microphone you're supposed to get for it, but they don't actually give like a model number of microphone. So there's some Cobra CB mics out there that actually work. How old is the bottom end deck? The bottom end deck, I forget the exact model number on the back, but it is a relatively old one. I'll have to get the number. That's actually a question I've gotten before. Let me grab my flashlight. The model is number 3352. So it's a very early one. And then the top one is 12,150. So yeah, it's a relatively old one. It's the, what was that again? That's the 3000th one made. So really quite an old one. I forget how many index are actually made. I was told by someone. To answer some more of the questions. Speaking of licenses, can I talk to you more about that after the stream? I think I answered that. Yeah, just if you're looking at transmitting, don't. That's all I can say. If you are, though, use a weather radio because you're not transmitting tones over the air. And also, like, who's gonna listen? Keep that in mind, because, like, you have to have someone who's listening on the other end for it to actually be useful. So if you know, for my end, what I have people listening on is Skywarn. You know, we have Skywarn out in my area, and they listen to the repeater. They have their nets on the repeater, you know, da-da-da-da-da. And we have other emergency agencies, such as my local search and rescue, that use the repeaters. And there's also groups like ARES, the Amateur Radio Emergency Communications group. They don't use our repeaters a lot, but they are a backup for their group. What do you find most interesting about it all? Well, the thing that I find most interesting about it all is probably the equipment. The equipment is what I find the most interesting. The alerts are cool. I mean, I enjoy getting alerts. It's interesting. The thrill is fun. But what's fun is the equipment, because you know, I find it really interesting once you get really deep into these systems like FSK. How do those packets work? You know, hooking up, building your own serial cables, programming these devices, getting it all to work. It's just really fun. You know, and I'm a hardware guy. I'm not really a software guy. So I really enjoy building my own hardware and stuff like that. Not for that, just an amateur radio license. You're talking about that and reminded to talk to you about that. Yeah, sure, I could talk to you more about getting your amateur radio license. Speaking of that, they're actually doing online testing now. It's actually better than what they were doing before, which was in-person testing, and then they would have to mail it to the FCC. It took weeks. It took me 2 weeks to get my license in the mail, or to get it in the database, the FCC ULS, the Universal Licensing System. You have to check in like every day to see if it's in the license database. Took 2 weeks. Now they're getting these people done in 2 days. They're sending it electronically, and they're having you do the test over Zoom. It is so amazing. If you are ready to take the test, please join the Discord, DM me. I will gladly get you hooked up with someone who can get you into one of those virtual licensing programs. They were throughputting probably, they would do like 3 or 4 tests. There was this one group. They were based out of Alaska, were based 2 people in Alaska. I don't know where they were based out of, but a lot of people in Alaska couldn't get their tests, and so they would do it remotely because they're, hundreds of miles before to get to the nearest test session. And so what they would do is they were having like 4 tests a year, and I was like, that's a really small amount of people. They switched over after COVID-19 happened, and they were getting roughly, I think, 135 to 150 tests in a month. And there's probably, I don't know the exact amount, but probably at least more than 20 to 30 people in each of those test sessions. I mean, you think about how many newly licensed people there are just from that. I talked to a guy, and he was like, oh yeah, I got my license in 2 days after taking it. It's insane. Glarg, yes. Yeah, Glarg is the group that I think is doing all the testing, as Grant is saying in the chat. But yeah, I'll definitely link you to the people if you go into the what's it called, to the Discord. And I believe the Discord is in the link, is in the description of this. But if not, it's in the description of one of my most recent videos. It becomes more of a profession rather than a hobby. Yeah. Once you learn about it, it really does. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. You're not a certified professional, but yeah, you definitely learn it in a professional way. Looking at all the different things. Okay. But yeah, so we're nearing up to 15 minutes left in the stream. A little less than that, or a little more than that, excuse me. So I guess I will talk a bit about what I plan to do next stream. So plan to talk about home automation, like I said. Essentially, I'm going to talk about sensors and stuff that I built across the house. I'm going to talk about the little home automation server thing I got going, Home Assistant. It's really interesting. And I'll just talk about it. If anybody has any questions, I'll answer it. Plan for that to be a shorter stream, though, maybe about 30 minutes or so, because there's just a really smaller amount of stuff to talk about with that. And then people have actually asked me about this too. Well, I asked about the EAS stuff. They asked me about this stack of equipment. I got a Discord message asking about that not too long ago. This is my service equipment, actually, and it's I could turn my camera, but there's a desk over here. It goes on a little farther on the same table. But this is my test equipment. It's for testing RF. Currently, I have my Motorola service monitor, my BK Precision 20 megahertz oscilloscope, and my Gold Star function generator, which are all good pieces of equipment. I have had some problems with the BK Precision oscilloscope, and the intensity and focus pots are getting a little worn out. I might actually need to go in there and replace them. But yeah, so the Motorola Communications Analyzer is the main thing everybody talks about because, number one, it's so big. Like, this thing is probably at least a foot and a half long, and it weighs at least 45 to 50 pounds. And its main purpose is to look at RF signals. Hook up a radio to its input, find out how much power that radio is putting out, if it's throwing off any spurs. You can send a tone into that radio and see exactly how much deviation is what we call it. So essentially an FM, it uses the frequency to modulate the sound. So it goes in and out, like that. And so we want to know how much bandwidth it's actually using while modulating that signal, so you stay inside the legal limit. And so we use a piece of equipment like the service monitor to figure that out. We could also have it generate tones to test equipment, the receivers, such. It's a really handy piece of equipment to have on hand. This is actually mine. I own this. It was given to me by my group for working with the repeater stuff. It has a cover that goes on the front like this. Probably not going to show the front of that. It has my phone number on it. But in here it has the cables for hooking up the test equipment too. And that just slips onto the front two hooks here, and you could take it with you to a repeater site. Really handy. These things are actually pretty old, yet they've stayed together pretty well. It actually still has the Motorola test sticker on it too from when it was built, which was this was 2005. So yeah, this one isn't as old as some of the other ones I've seen though. So yeah, 2005, and it was released out 2006. So certified in 2005, and it was... Oh, no, excuse me. Certified in 2005, and then it was due for its next inspection in 2006. Well, I'll tell you that next inspection didn't happen. So... Also, only half the screen works on it, but it took all the text and pushed it over to one side of the screen, so luckily it's not like half the screen isn't working. It just pushed it all over, and that's kind of weird. It happens with those tube kind of TV things. These oscilloscopes and all that stuff are long because they use the tube type CRT monitors to them. But yeah, so the reason why I brought that up is because that's what I use to tune the transmitter for the EAS equipment. It's really important that you tune your stuff to not throw out spurs and all that stuff. Really important. And so that's why I bring up that piece of equipment. Really nice for doing stuff like that. What are the frequency limits on that unit? Well, the frequency limits on this unit, I do not know the exact amount, but if you're interested, it is a Motorola Communication System Analyzer. And I believe it goes up to the CDMA, like phone system bands. The reason why is because some of these service monitors were used, we actually have, I think 4 or 5 of them for our group. Our group has 20 repeaters, so we're a relatively large group. And so we have, I think, 4 service monitors or so. 3 are for the group. The other 2, I think, people own in the group. I've just seen them around. And they are HP CDMA service monitors. And they essentially, they go up to the CDMA phone band, but they actually come down to the amateur radio spectrum. And they are really, really, really nice pieces of equipment. I wish I could get one. You can actually get them pretty inexpensively on eBay. I think we've gotten ours for like $500 or so. So if you're interested in, and you do commercial like equipment like repeaters or such, well, I say you mess around with commercial equipment, or you do repeaters. highly recommend getting a service monitor. It's a really necessary piece of equipment, and a watt meter. Two most important things you will ever get. Watt/SWR. Let me make that clear. Wondering if you can test cell phones. I can't. Also, by the way, if you are not a cell provider or have like a license, it is illegal to modify equipment to receive the cell phone band. I know, it's kind of weird, but you can't receive the cell phone band. And it's kind of hard to mod equipment to that area, I'm pretty sure. I'm not completely knowledgeable, so I'm not going to make any statements of like what you can and can't do, but like highly recommend doing your research. I look in stuff like my Yaesu FT70D, and you open up the back of it, and inside of here it has a nice little sticker right there, okay? And you're not gonna be able to see it on the camera, so you just gotta have to believe that this is what it says. It says, warning, modification of this device to receive cellular radio telephone service signals is prohibited under FCC rules and federal law. So that's all the info I got for you. I mean, I have no idea, but that's what the sticker says. But yeah, also really nice, if you can get a really nice service monitor, you could not even service equipment, but radios. There's a spectrum of internet, the Wi-Fi bands that you can actually put amateur radio equipment on. Funnily enough, it's completely open for people to use. There's mesh networks on there, a whole bunch of other stuff, and it's just overall a really, really cool thing. My music stream stopped, so gotta fix that real quick. So, yep, let me get the live stream chat. Yep, so that's what I got for you guys. Probably gonna end it a little early here. We have about 7 minutes to spare, so I'm gonna end it here. But I appreciate you all tuning in. If you're interested in more of the projects that I do, anything like that, come back to the live stream of next week. Again, Sundays at 3 o'clock or 1500 hours Pacific Standard Time. So I hope you enjoyed the stream, and be sure to check out some of my other videos. I'm trying to release some more through the whole COVID-19 thing, but I'm struggling because there's schoolwork, there's the Discord stuff that I do, and then there's just tons going on. So I will try to post more videos, but I hope that you'll tune in next week. So yeah, it looks like we had about 12 viewers, 15 viewers, so pretty good stream. So yeah, appreciate you all watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. So have a good day.